Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Experience Show. And on our show today, we have the phenomenal evangelist Victor. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, I believe that your life experience, I've heard your story, and I believe that it will really be a great inspiration, deliverance, and also an encouragement to a lot of young people.
Exactly.
And not just young people, a whole lot of people out there. So, and oh my God, I don't know how this session is gonna be like now, but I just trust that God will use this to really go a long way to blessing the lives of people. All right. Let me begin by asking you, because many people would see you today, they will just see and they wouldn't know what certain things that has happened, the things you have been through up until this point. So we would really want to take it back to who you used to be, how life used to be for you before you got here in life.
Okay, we grew up in deeper life. My mom raised us in deeper life. So we started going to deeper life when we were young. And we were raised, me and my siblings, by my mom. So by the time I was 19 years, I impregnated a girl. And then around the age of 20, we were married, and then
Officially.
It's not officially, it's not the proper marriage, the type where two of you have put her in a family way, so you have to do something about it. And as somebody that has conscience and young, I didn't want to deny her or say I won't take responsibility, even though I didn't know what I was getting into.
Okay.
You understand? I didn't know what I was getting into, but because I have conscience, so I decided that I am going to be part of part of the experience with her. My work with God started when I was very, very young, but I lost that salvation, like, youthful exuberance and all that. But that 2016, God restored me. Then my work with God became very serious. So I started following God, and I was taking my work with God very seriously.
Okay, during those times you lost your walk with God, that was when you impregnated it.
Yes, exactly. That it happened in the middle of in the middle of my repentance, and then my coming back to God in 2016. It happened in the middle of it. So then after I started my walk with God again, and I was taking the things of God very seriously. I was even going out to preach, to tell people about God, and she was with me. Although she was there. Although she was not born again.
Even when your walk with God was restored.
Yes, she was not born again. So, but I was just going on my own. So I continued, and in 2017, my friend introduced me to a clip. And this clip, after I watched it, I loved the man of God at Ogidi. So I started asking questions. This man of God, where is he located? Where is his ministry? So they told me that he normally has meetings every Tuesday, like Tuesday meetings. So I started going to Tuesday meetings to listen to him, so that my walk with God will even grow the more. So at this point, the issue of full-time ministry came. I was praying, and then I got the ministration to stop everything I was doing and then go into full-time. So the voice just said it is time to focus more on this work. And just like I told you, I've been going out preaching, I was working in my mom's place. Yes, I was working in my mom's place. So, but sometimes I will leave the factory to go and preach. Sometimes I will get invitations. I will leave that place to go to preach, and then, telling people about Jesus and all that. So, but when I got that ministration, I tried to share it with some people. They discouraged me. But when I went and I met this man of God, and a great man of God, he encouraged me and said, yes, you can do it. If it is God telling you and you are sure. So he encouraged me. So that's how my journey into full-time ministry started. You understand? And then by 2019, I had another ministration to now go indoors and stop everything and wait. Because I was going to schools, ministrations, I was going to everywhere. So, but after that ministration came in 2019, I stopped. And then all the invitations that I was getting, I was telling them to wait. That God is not permitting me at this time to move. So I stayed in my room indoors. I was praying, reading the Bible, and then waiting for the next instruction from God. And mind you, before that time, God has been speaking to me. God has used me to speak on many situations that happened, not like many people can attest to this. Even my friend Frank knows about this. Okay. So God has been using me to speak on situations. Like we can be praying, administration will come and I will say it, and later it will happen.
You have the prophetic.
Yeah, that's the major office God has called me into. But the reason why I am not going with Prophet Victor is because from the beginning, God said to me, you are a prophet, but you won't carry that title, prophet, because your generation has abused this office. You will just go with evangelist. But your main office is the prophetic office. When I got this ministration to wait, it was not something I was confused about, because somebody might say, how can a voice speak to you? And all. I have been in that office.
Okay.
You understand? So when that ministration came, I waited for God.
Okay, so let me still get it straight.
Yeah.
In 2017, you got the ministration, like God told you to get into full-time ministry.
Yes.
Okay, and then you had to stop everything you were doing.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, what happened? You said
in 2018, the full-time ministry I entered into it properly.
Okay, in 2018, you had to leave both business, work, everything, and then just ministry.
Yes.
Okay, and then in 2019, God spoke to you again that you should go indoors.
Yes, and wait.
And you are sure that these things are the voice of God?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so continue.
So that was how I started, how I stayed indoors, and then I was praying, reading my Bible. And to tell you the truth, we Christians, we talk about capacity, for God to give you capacity. So I was thinking that God wants to give me capacity.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
Because I was going from to places, little by little. People were inviting me, so I was thinking God wanted to give me capacity, and also a kind of train me on some aspects. Okay. So I just waited, and I was praying and reading my Bible, and also listening to messages, until around that time a lot of things happened. I can't actually tell you everything that happened within that time frame. But the woman I was with, she left, and a lot of people left. Okay. You understand?
During the period you went
indoors, yes, but because she couldn't understand it. Okay. Many people said I was mad. Many people say this is not God. Even she too, she made mention of that and said this is not God. This one is possessed with a demon, and many people say this is a demon. You understand? I was in difficulty because you are alone. Sometimes no food to eat. I became so lean.
Wait, you are literally doing nothing. You are just
Nothing. I was just indoors praying and reading the Bible.
and fasting.
I'm fasting, but the fasting is not like I will come and say I'm fasting. When you don't have food, you have to just keep praying, whether you are fasting or not. You understand? So I was there. And the only thing that held me there was I was convinced that this is God and it is going to end as soon as possible. But as time goes on, it was not ending. You understand? So at some point, what people were saying started getting to me, and a lot of things started happening, and then I became angry. I started doubting. Fear entered me. And another thing I did not mention is that I became ashamed. What will people say? So this is how you understand. So it made me, I was now even ashamed to come out. That place became like a safe place for me. Even when I want to come out, it was like a force was holding me down there. You understand? Holding me inside the place. And that fear, the fear was tormenting me. That is when I started having those demonic attacks. I was in my room one day and a demon came to me. I was just lying down, closing my eyes, and all of a sudden a demon appeared to me and said, you provoked us.
Literally, you are seeing.
Yeah, it was like a vision. Okay. This one was like a vision. Okay. I was not even sleeping. I was just closing my eyes and then looked at me and said, you provoked us. You will see. And then disappeared. I opened my eyes. There was this time I was also in my room and then a demon appeared to me and spoke in what sounds like tongues and said, I will deal with you, and spat at my face. Pwah!
And you felt it?
I felt it was like hot water splashed on my face. The experience was terrible. Even at some point, I woke up one morning and I couldn't breathe. My breath was just going up like, couldn't come down. It was just going up. And all of it, I thought I would die. And all of a sudden, strength came in. And before you know what is happening, I started hearing voices.
And this was happening for how long?
Within that space of 3 years that I was indoors.
Okay, for 3 years.
Years that I was indoors. Yeah. All these things were happening. You understand?
Like for 3 years, you never stepped out. You were just indoors.
Yeah, I was indoors. My stepping out was very, very limited. Very, very limited. I can't remember if I really stepped out, but let's just say I stepped out very few times.
And all this was because you said God told you.
Yes. I was just waiting for God to give me the next direction on what to do. I just stayed there.
So where was your family, like your siblings?
They were there. You know, I come in a family where everybody is busy. My mom, we are only 2 boys. Okay. So my brother is not in Nigeria. So okay. Yeah. So I am the only one around. So my siblings, most of them are not around. So they just come and go. So my mom is also very busy. Sometimes she just comes in the night because of the nature of her work. You understand?
Okay. But she was aware when you went in.
Yeah, she was aware. She knows. But
she never asked you.
She will come and then advise me and tell me. But you know, I'm a matured man. I'm a matured person. Nobody will force you. They can only try to tell you, to warn you. But me, I believe I believed then that this is God and I must obey God. But at some point, just like I said before, it was no more about God. It was now about me being ashamed. I was afraid and not. I was asking myself, how can I face the world again? I was, you understand, I felt disappointed. I was devastated. I went into depression, loneliness. I was tormented by voices. These voices was so much coming, cursing me, telling me, you think you can be great. You think you can do what others have tried and failed. Who are you? You understand? Who are you? How dare you try to cross this line? You're threatening me, and then I went into depression.
Why still indoor?
I'm telling you. So by the last year of that indoor, it was not even about, just like I said, it was no more about God telling me it is how will I come out? How can I face the world? How can I was ashamed? I became trapped into that place. Even when I want to move, it's like something has shielded my heart and shielded my ability to move. It was as if something wanted me to be there, to destroy me there, you understand? So, but it was a terrible experience. The voices tormented me. They were like torment. I will be staying in my room like this, and I will feel a hand hit me on my head like this, and when I turn, I won't see anybody. And
like
literally, this is not dream or revelation or vision. I will feel it on my head, and when I turn, nobody is there. I'm alone in the room. But after this, when I turn, nobody, and then I will feel like my brain will turn. I will feel like I want to run mad. It will be as if something wants me to pull my clothes and run outside, but I will keep forcing myself. I will hold myself, struggling. It was a struggle. I didn't know I would be alive because I thought that two things. One must happen to me. That was what I was thinking then. If I didn't die, then I would definitely run mad. But thank God, none of them happened. It was a difficult situation.
And you never told anybody?
No, I never told anybody.
So, but at what point did that your wife then left? Like, was it
It was in the first year.
Okay.
It was in the first year, towards August.
Of the first year.
Of that first year that I went indoors. You understand?
Okay, maybe because you are no longer giving her attention.
Attention, there was no money, a lot of things were, you understand, the situation was difficult. It was difficult. I can barely eat, nothing. I was not doing anything. I was just waiting and sitting down, praying and reading the Bible and waiting on God to.
But during those periods now, those voices started coming. Were you still praying and reading the Bible?
Like I said before the voice started, what people were saying and what was happening, the difficulties, it made me, I started doubting myself. I started asking myself a lot of questions. Is this truly God? Will God put me in this situation? You understand? I was asking, and then after some time, I started doubting everything. I became afraid, very afraid. And then I was like, does it mean that this is demon? And those questions that make you very devastated and very confused and afraid. Fear. I was in fear. I felt like God disappointed me. I was even saying it, how will God bring me in this situation and then leave me like this? So it was a terrible experience. That was when depression sets in. I was depressed. So by the end of that 3 years, around 2021, I left indoors. Sold my car because I had a car. I sold it and then I traveled outside the country. Even over there, I couldn't concentrate. The voices they were still coming and they were still disturbing me. And I returned back.
Back to Nigeria?
Yeah, I returned back to Nigeria because I couldn't concentrate. And I wanted to move on from everything, but because of what happened there, it was as if everything that I experienced indoors followed me to everywhere I was going. And they were there. I can't think. Even while I was outside the country, I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't do anything. I was crying. Sometimes I will hit my hand on the wall and I will be like, Kai, God, you did me like this. Something like that. You understand?
Did you at some point develop hatred for God?
I did. I didn't want to be around Christians or around church, and even while I was outside the country, I didn't even go to church or try to even go attend anyone. If Christians are gathered and they are talking about God, I will just excuse myself. I didn't want to be part of any discussion of God or Jesus or Christianity or whatsoever. So I wanted to avoid God, and I am this type that didn't have strong Christian background, I would have been among those that will say, let me go back to my roots, and then, you understand, or start trying out some other things. But because I come from a family where my mom is a strong believer in Jesus, and he told us and said, I have handed you over to God. You can't do any other thing. Yes, he said it. He said he told God. She said he told God and said, none of my children will, even if they miss the road, they are going anywhere, that they will just be wasting their time. You will still bring them to. You understand?
Yeah.
She was telling us this thing while we were growing up. You can't do anything. If I just have sacrificed you to God, you are just sacrifices to Jesus. So it is, maybe, let me say, it is one of the things that held me. And I saw how God came through for her while we were growing up. You understand? So you can't see all those things and say God doesn't exist, or Jesus is not working, or Jesus, no. What I saw, it is very hard for me to deny that Jesus is alive. So, but what happened to me was that I was angry with Jesus. I was angry with him. But I knew he exists. I knew, I have seen, you understand. So, but I was angry. I was asking, why will you do me like this? That's the question. Why? Why? So while I avoided everything about, I was angry. If I hear people talking about, it makes me angry. I just leave. And this affected me in so many things. I was failing. You know what is called failure? I was failing. Anything I touch turns into dust. Anything I touch turns into dust. I'm telling you, you can imagine having 4 accidents in that country. I had 4 accidents within 6 months of me being in that country. If I remove my body, you will see the accident marks. I'm telling you, I had 4 accidents. One of them nearly took my life. I was in the keke, and then all of a sudden, trailer was coming. I don't know what happened. It nearly crushed everybody in that country. But God saved my life. And then when I came back to Nigeria, I was in my room.
Okay, you came back and you entered indoor again.
Yeah, that was, I won't say I entered indoors again because I had nothing to do. I was just sitting down. It's not like the first one where you are praying or you are staying. I was just there because nothing to do. A lot of things has happened. A lot of things I tried to invest, all of them. Nothing was happening, was moving on, was moving well nothing was going well for me at all. And I decided to just stay. But prayer was not an option for me.
Okay,
I was not praying. I was angry. So and
you were not even talking to anyone about it?
I was not talking to anybody about it. I was telling myself, what will I pray about? So if I pray, is it not prayer that I was praying and then I got myself into this situation? So why will I pray again? What will prayer do for me? Even when my mom try to convince me, start praying, I will say no. I will just ignore her and go. You understand?
Yeah.
Because in my heart, I was convinced that prayer is going to make the whole situation worse. Because I said I was praying, waiting on God, and this happened to me. So if I start praying again, what will happen? So not until that day, I was in my room, and then all of a sudden, I was closing my eyes, and this light flashed on me. It happened two times. I had that experience 2 times. I opened my eyes. It was as if I can't see. I looked around, but nobody was there. Then after that, after some time, I started having this courage to pray and read the Bible again. And that is it. I started reading the Bible, started praying, and then I started going to places where they pray. And at some point, I even told my friend, okay, I said, be praying for me. So he was praying for me as well. And I decided, I said to myself, let me go back and start everything afresh again. I went back and started everything afresh again. I said to God, this is, in fact, today I started my walk with you. This is the day. I'm just starting anew, starting afresh. This is today I'm starting my walk with you again today. And that is it. Before you know what is happening, the voices stopped, that the whole experiences, the depression and everything disappeared.
And wait, those times you were hearing those voices, were they that audible enough, or like are you hearing them externally or internally?
You know, the voice of the Spirit, you don't hear them externally. When it comes, it is like it ministers to your spirit. Your brain understands it, your heart understands it. So it's all about your brain and your heart. So if you see anybody telling you they are hearing voices and it is sounding audible, like, no. When the voice comes, you hear it with your heart. There is a point you will understand that even this, your heart, has ears that can hear. Yeah. You hear through the ears of your heart. Sometimes you don't, nobody is telling you, but you are understanding it. You understand. You just understand. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So, but with this experience now, because okay, you started hearing those voices, like, is it towards the last year of that staying indoor?
No, it was, I think, around a year and 6 months indoors, when doubts and fears and all those things started coming in. Okay. That's when those voices started coming in.
Okay, I think I got now. Like, God. Okay, let me just ask you this. Now, from the experience you gathered from that 3 years experience, whereby you almost ran mad and all of that, do you think that initially it was God that really spoke to you.
Yes, it was God initially.
Okay.
But there are some things. First of all, I didn't understand.
Okay.
So I believe that the enemy preyed on that, the whole situation. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then those doubts and fears and all that also gave the enemy the power, or how do I put it, to step in and do all those things that he did. One thing you know is that fear is not of God.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that the enemy uses to torment you and bring you down. And then you don't know your place in Christ again, and you are devastated, you are thrown off balance. Before you know what is happening, you are just a prey in his hand, you know.
So what do you think right now about the idea of full-time ministry? That is, many young people out there are like full-time. So what do you have to say right now on that subject, considering the whole experience you have gathered within that 3 years?
To tell you the truth, brother, this full-time ministry is one of the greatest weapons the enemy is using to destroy the lives of young people today. I'm telling you the truth. This issue of full-time ministry is one of the, and you know Satan, he is a very intelligent imitator of God. You see everybody full-time ministry, 10 to 15 years, you see their lives, you is nothing to write home about. Full-time ministry is one of the weapons the enemy is using to confuse young people, distract them, and make them believe that God is wicked. And this is one thing the enemy is bent on doing, to make sure that you see God as a wicked God. So many of these people in full-time ministry, is not even God that has called them, and they don't know it. That's the sad thing about it. And many of them, they are there 10 years, 8 years, 15 years. And how do you know that this is not God? After 15 years of this full-time ministry, you can't say this is what God has done in your life. Look at where you are now with God. You are still confused. You are still waiting in hopelessness. Many young people are confused. They have lost many gifted young people, many talented people. They are nowhere anymore because of full-time ministry. So my advice is that before you ever say you are going into full-time ministry, be very sure, know the spirit that is telling you to leave your work, or to stop doing anything, just be useless. Don't be productive to the society. Just be walking up and down saying you are waiting for God. Be very sure, and also discuss it with a lot of people or brethren that truly understands God.
Wow. So what is this one mistake you will be very much careful not to make again in life?
One mistake. There are many mistakes I will never want to make in life again. First of all, the issue of marriage.
Okay.
God has helped me and corrected a lot of things for me. So I will never want to play with the grace of God that God has given me in this area. Okay. Another thing is my walk with God. I am going to continue to take the word of God very seriously. And my walk with God very seriously.
Okay.
And always careful in my walk with God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really, really amazing.
Yeah.
The truth is that your story, number one, it sounds like a warning. Not just to me, but I believe a lot of people out there. So that you will not just come up one day with just anything without being ready and matured for that thing you want to do. And then it's also inspiring. Like, this is a strong story. Listening to you share these things, I'm like, things they happen. No, seriously, like, people really see a lot of things. And I just believe that this story will go a long way to change a whole lot of people out there.
That's the.
So thank you so much for your vulnerability and for being able to, say these things openly without keeping any of them to yourself. I'm really inspired, and at the same time, I'm encouraged. Thank you so much. All right, so if you watched to this point, I believe that you are really, really blessed by this story shared by Evangelist Victor. And I would please encourage you, I beg you in the name of the Lord, share this to as many as possible. You might be saving a soul right now by sharing. And don't forget to drop a comment. What are your thoughts on these things that are shared here? What questions would you want Mr. Victor to answer when next he comes to this podcast? Put it down there in the comment section, and we'll be attending to it one after the other. All right. So, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the notification button so that you know when Evangelist Victor is coming back to the show again. See you in our next episode, and bye.